We're at REDCREST, everybody, and we've got a legend here, Earl Bentz, Caymus Boats.
Good to be here.
I'd love to tell your story. Now, obviously, Caymus Boats is now, and it's the future, but where did this all start?
Well, you know, I've been in the boat business over 50 years, boat manufacturing business, and it's my passion. It's been my life since I was 14 years old. And I actually retired for 3 months. My wife and I went to our home in Florida, and I fished every day. It was during the winter months, so I did a little quail hunting. And I got up one morning and I looked over and I said, you know, honey, I just can't do this. I said, I am absolutely miserable. And of course she said, well, it's not me, is it? I said, no, it's not you, it's me. And I've never got up without a purpose. And she said, what are you going to do? And I said, I'm going back to Tennessee, and I'm going to get the team together, and I'm going to start another boat company. So I came back up, met with several of my team members who had worked with me for the last, some of them for 44 years. And they said, well, if you've got the energy, we've got the energy, let's go do it again. Let's do something a little different. So we put our heads together and started designing and laying out, and came up with a boat really for the 21st century to accommodate the weight that fishermen are putting in. You know, the last hole we did back in the 90s, they weren't 36-volt trolling motors.
Right.
They weren't power poles.
Right.
So rather than 3 batteries in the back of the boat, we now have 5 in most cases, some cases 6. So we put a wider pad on the boat, designed it so it's easy to drive, soft and fast, and did a lot of other little things on the inside, and came with what we think is a great boat.
I was looking at the hull design, and it seems to me that the setback, is that to eliminate jack plates?
No. The jack plate, hydraulic plates today do a lot of things. One, it's what I call the old fat man, skinny man theory on a seesaw. You know, the more board that you give to the skinny guy, he can pick up the fat guy on the short end. So it's moving the leverage point of the boat. There's a point where you can go too far back or too close in.
Yeah.
So you know, it depends on the load whether a plate's going to help or hinder your speed and performance. But you know, the up and down adjustment with a touch of a button is really a big benefit too, especially if you're running in shallow water.
And yet, as I look around these boats, I don't see any jack plates on these boats.
Well, we've got some on them.
Oh, do you have them?
Yeah, I can't see on that one over there. But
okay.
Yeah, we put them on.
But they're not. It's not something you have to have.
You don't have to have it. No.
Okay.
In our saltwater boats, you know, we came with a new line of saltwater boats that sell in inland lakes as well, from 26, 28, 34, 40. We introduced a new 34 Cat at the Miami show 3 weeks ago. A huge hit. But there's a lot of interior freshwater fishermen now that are using center consoles to stripe fish, crappie fish, bass fish, and using the same boat to go to the coast, catch redfish, trout, light offshore fishing for snapper and grouper. So, and then we've got our walleye series we just introduced.
Yes.
And for the Great Lakes, you know, the 19, 20, and 22 footers. So we're pretty diverse. We've come a long ways in the last 5 years, and we've got a long ways to go.
You guys, when did the first Caymus roll off the assembly line? Or we call it assembly line.
In 2019. We started designing in 18, and putting the team together, started the design work. And the first boat was actually put in the water in early 2019. So,
okay, now let's go way back. Were you ever a powerboat guy?
Well, all of these are powerboats. I mean, my background, I race. You know,
that's what I was going to get at.
Yes.
I think, is there a connection with Dick Shear?
I know Dick.
Okay.
Yeah, I know.
'Cause,
Haven't seen Dick. Is Dick still living?
I don't know. I know that Dick Shear Marine is still there in Norwalk. That's why I live in California.
Dick Shear blew over by me. We're running on the Parker River, the Parker 9-hour Enduro, and he was running a Switzer wing back in those days with a pair of Stacker Mercuries on it.
What year are we talking about?
Oh man, this is going back in the 70s.
Yeah.
The early 70s, and he went up in the air about as high, twice as high as a telephone pole. And we didn't have seat belts and capsules back in those days, so he hit the water like a flat rock, and I stopped to see if he was okay, and he was. The rescue boat was coming in, and he was conscious and had all of his body parts, so I took off and went back to racing.
Well, that's the thing that I think is so fascinating about your legacy, is that you got that racing experience, and it's got to lead to ideas on hull design and things like that.
You know, I think what racing taught me, I was very fortunate to be one of 3 people to be one of Mercury's Marine's factory drivers. And we tested and tested and tested. And one thing that Gary Garber, who was the team director back in those days, we would never settle for just good enough. We wanted to be the best at everything that we did, and we put forth the effort, the long hours. Sometimes we'd be on the water testing when it was so dark you had to have a clear shield on you couldn't see through a smoke shield, and same thing late afternoon. And we'd spend the whole month of January in Lake Havasu, Arizona testing, because the water in Wisconsin, where our racing headquarters was iced over.
Right.
So a lot of fun.
So I'm trying to count. Is this your 4th boat line, or your?
Well, I started with Hydrosport in the mid-70s.
Yes.
And Joe Reeves owned the company. I ran the company the last 3 years that I was there. And we had an arrangement where I would buy the company, and things didn't work out for me to do that, so I started Stratus Boats in '83, Triton Boats in '96. Under the OMC umbrella, we started Javelin Boats as well.
I didn't count that one. That's right, Javelin.
So, you know, I've had a storied career in the boat business.
Yes.
And again, it's something that somebody said, when are you finally going to retire? I've been retired since I was 14 years old. That's the first day I got in the boat business. So I love what I do.
It's not work if it's fun, right?
That is correct. That is correct.
Well, I appreciate you taking some time. I know you're in high demand at the show, but I appreciate you being with us today. And
my honor to be here.
It's my honor to interview a legend of the sport. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.